It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today I have Drew Harden from Pillar on with me, guys. We're going to talk about a myriad of things. Pillar, Ethereum, why they're choosing to stick with Ethereum. You guys know how I feel about Ethereum. And we're going to also talk about just the future of blockchain. I'm so glad he reached out to me. Drew Harden, he's the Chief Product Officer at Pillar Project. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. So glad to have you on. You reached out to me.
Good.
I think last week or so, and we scheduled a time to just get an update. To be honest with you, I haven't been following the project ever since I kind of sold all of my tokens.
Sure.
Shortly after the interview I had with your CEO or chairman, and no hard feelings at all. I couldn't put together the vision, and that was a year and a half ago or so. So I'm sure you guys have done much more and have developed much more. So before we get into that, though, Drew, tell us a little bit about you. I think you have a computer science background. Is that correct? And how did you end up with the Pillar Project?
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't actually have a computer science background,
Okay,
but a tremendous amount of experience in software development. So,
gotcha.
I worked. I've done many things, but in terms of technology, I launched a hardware startup in the digital cinema space, a digital field recorder, first portable actually digital field recorder for digital capture in motion picture. And during all that, I was like, hardware is terrible. It's extremely difficult. And the software side, I was more intrigued with. Ended up working with the company and basically building one of the very first Ruby on Rails, which is a development language, web development language, agencies and shops out of LA area.
I was gonna
Uh,
say you don't sound like you're from UK. So are you in the UK or are you in the States?
no, yeah, I am. I currently live in Los Angeles, back in
Oh,
Los
okay.
Angeles,
Oh, okay.
where
Cool.
I went to college here and spent the last about 15 or so years here. I was out in London with the team, working directly with them all of last year in London.
Gotcha.
Uh, Recently came back here, and main reason for that too is in the last 9 or so months, my focus has really been on kind of the crypto circuits, specifically, the Ethereum conferences, hackathons, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because building an open source project, it's all about partnerships and collaborating with other projects, and that's really allowed us to kind of propel our product forward and our product
Nice.
development forward. So yeah, and so from the Ruby on Rails shop, then launched my own agency, doing web and mobile application development for startups based out of LA, but most of our development team and design team were based out of Uruguay and Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
So work really closely with those markets, and about a decade of that. And through that work, I was exposed to Bitcoin maybe 2011, 12. Read the white paper, immediately was attracted to it from like a philosophical standpoint.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah, it just like totally spoke to
Mm-hmm.
me, resonated with me, and I was like, this is great. Saw multiple bubbles from
Yep.
very yeah low prices.
Yep.
So I really got excited around end of 2016, beginning into 2017, because I saw that we might be in this transition from just purely speculative gambling apps and all the various things that there to real development being done against a decentralized economy, applications, all that. So the ICO craze hit, and at that point, I was basically still kind of speculating, doing some trading along with everybody else. And at a certain point, I'm like, look, I know this stuff. I love what's happening here. I want to get involved. I
Mm-hmm.
decided I want to focus less on just pushing digital ones and zeros around and profits, and really focus on product. And a couple projects that also really spoke to me, like caught my eye. One was Pillar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big privacy advocate. I really believe in data control, data privacy, anonymity,
Mm-hmm.
and right after their ICO, they launched their wallet design competition. So myself and a buddy of mine, actually the creative director from one of my old agencies, got together. He didn't know anything about crypto, which was actually great. And
Yep.
I was in too versed, so I was a little bit biased and kind of expected the workflows of pain,
Right.
onboarding pain and all that. But yeah, we put together something, and submitted it and ended up winning. So that opened up the conversation. Flew out to New York and met with David, some of the other design contest entrants and winners, and collaborated with them for about 3 days. It was actually a lot of fun. And then started doing kind of some, part-time consulting work, which then grew into a, hey, do you want to do this full time and really work with us and help to, drive product and shape design and that stuff. So that was
one of the things that's neat. I didn't know that. Okay, so that's how kind of were introduced to Pillar. One of my constructive criticisms of Pillar was the fact that they had like a volunteer model. Is
right.
that still something that they're doing, or have they scaled, kind of made the pendulum swing the other way, or kind of give us a little, if you can?
Yeah, the intention was great, obviously,
Right.
and frankly, I kind of came through this volunteering process in some extent. Granted, this design competition, there was, a reward involved, a financial incentive, and I did put in some time, basically for free, getting to know the team, working on various tasks. And this volunteer process, depending on what you did, when you came in, what it was. Some people it was like a couple of days, some people it was a little longer, but yeah, we quickly realized in terms of especially the technical complexity and the challenges not just in code but in concept of what we were trying to build, needed to build, required people that have experience in this stuff and are able to really tackle these problems from a user experience, design, technical perspective. So we found the volunteering process didn't end up working for the, what we needed. And it forced us to shift pretty quickly. And now it's all about making sure the people we bring in are qualified, but really also an emphasis on not reinventing the wheel and finding strategic partners in other projects that are doing similar things, working with them, sharing ideas, sharing code. Again, this is an open source project, community effort, on all parts. And I think it's really going to kind of change how product development is done and how it's thought of from that perspective. So I think those people who are going to really be able to thrive are the ones who are going to be able to play nice with others and find benefit, and like mutual benefit in working together.
Nice. That's great to see that you guys weren't stubborn and did end up pivoting away from that. I think, having volunteers is good, but at a certain point, the level of skill set that you need to recruit, sometimes I think you need to have that monetary incentive for your employees.
It was great to capture passion, but skill set, another question sometimes.
Right. It's cool, man. So let's go ahead and start talking about this actual Pillar wallet, man. There are so many wallets out there. It's some very stiff competition for you guys, and help us understand the whole ecosystem of Pillar and why you think you have a competitive advantage over other coins, or not coins but wallets. I guess we can kind of just start there.
Yeah, I mean, it's even the term wallet lexicon is kind of a challenging thing because it doesn't capture what Pillar is trying to achieve and its like goal and vision very well. And as a result, we've kind of been pegged in this wallet category, which, and for all intents and purposes, that's, up until this point, some of the more recent announcements, that's really been the kind of only core functionality there. But the goal, and it's important to keep this in mind, is really about, again, the personal data control, data management. And, over the last year and a half, there's also been a lot of learnings that have come from a technology network perspective, scaling challenges, all these things, and this sits at a network level
Mm-hmm.
that really informed what we need to do as a product to solve some of the challenges and deliver on those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the what's exciting is we're making this move to evolve from just a simple wallet into a much bigger platform variety of utility. The first of which is this migration from key-based accounts, which Pillar wallets are now, to smart contract-based accounts. And this is kind of a theme you're seeing across the board, especially Ethereum-based wallets. And this theme of like programmable money deserves programmable access. And
Mm-hmm.
this idea of storing funds in keys is kind of a hangover from Bitcoin and key-based UTXO chains. And with Ethereum, it makes more sense from a security and user experience standpoint to allow funds to live in contracts and then keys to access those contracts with varying permission levels controlled by the user, et cetera, et cetera. This also fits into, the need for contextualized identity and the ability to manage your identity in different scenarios, context with different individuals, different services. So, there's an issue with, or a consideration, I guess, with data correlation, with being able to track addresses, what you hold, what you're spending on. Everybody can see this. And
Yeah.
when you start compounding that with identity, and you don't really consider the implications of how identity is being associated with on-chain data, these are all things that we've had to think about, and this approach we're taking considers. So the leading into this, the smart contract accounts also set the basis for really the first utility of the token and the platform itself. The CryptoKitties incident really highlighted that we have a situation, a problem with network scaling, mm-hmm. and for Ethereum. And that obviously is a huge problem for onboarding, mass adoption, usability. And I think that same problem, although you can call it a scaling problem, is also a user experience one. And solving those key issues are really core to any dApp or wallet or experience that that is trying to scale.
Right.
So we immediately started to shift, as many did, to layer 2 or off-chain design practices and rethinking this stuff. And at the same time this was going on, there was this. We all jumped into this, like, kind of the people who already got it, that resonated with, decentralization, gung-ho, and I think we kind of placed this binary ultimatum on a lot of people of 0 to hero. Like, you go completely to decentralization from all the conveniences and things you've been taught to expect out of Web 2 and centralized applications. And so, how we can take a more gradual approach to decentralization and provide those conveniences with also, of centralization, but with multiple and frequent exits out to a decentralized, to self-custody, self-sovereignty, and the user can take those steps as they become, more comfortable. So thematically, these are kind of the things that were driving our product thinking and focus. So this led to us deciding to, on the back of our smart contract accounts and what we're calling our smart wallet, roll out what we're calling the Pillar Payment Network, mm-hmm. which is a layer 2 payment network. And on top of that, so payment networks, or payment channels, if you're unfamiliar, are basically an off-chain channel you open with another party by, both parties sending funds to an escrow account, and the collateral involved is kind of how you secure the transactions between them. By Pillar acting as like a hub between all the users on the network, we can generalize this process and allow users to open payment channels with basically everyone else on the Pillar platform, Pillar Payment Network.
So you're using is it called the Rainbow Network? Is that the?
Yeah. So Right. So the now the layer on top of that, which was recently proposed by Dan Robinson and others have thought about this or implementing this in different ways, something called a rainbow network or rainbow channels, which then work into a rainbow network. And what's meant by a rainbow channel is essentially a payment channel of variety of flavors, like a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is, traditionally with, again, payment channels, the asset you stake is basically the only asset that you're transacting back and forth. So you got to decide on that up front. With rainbow channels, you can use the staked asset, the collateral, to enable balance transfers in any supported coin token of that network. So in our case, in the case of Pillar, by staking some pillars and entering into the Pillar payment network, you're essentially able to send any other token or cryptocurrency that's supported by the Pillar wallet. So at this point, we'd be looking at Ethereum and all ERC20 tokens. As we introduce cross-chain support, which is coming, you'll be able to actually use pillars to, say, send Bitcoin to a buddy or Litecoin to somebody, a service.
Yeah, that was another. Yeah, that was another kind of constructive criticism point that I had about Pillar was that it was only ERC20 tokens. That was a big letdown back a year ago, and so that's great that you guys are going to be integrating cross-chain capabilities. That's important. Like, you got to have Bitcoin. You can't have a wallet without the big dog. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. That's always been the plan and the roadmap. And again, this kind of goes back to that. We were pegged as this wallet thing or a wallet offering. And again, we were advertising ourselves as such too. Right. But the goal and vision of what we're trying to do being much larger, the focus was less on accommodating a bunch of different tokens and different chains, because that really didn't get us to our goal faster. Users wanted it, demanded it, and they're like, oh, this, your wallet should have it. We agree, but we really needed to think at like foundational architecture first and ensure that kind of the goals from an identity, data management, and now these challenges with scaling, usability, and onboarding were all being met before. Because if all those considerations or challenges weren't dealt with, and you start offering more coins, it kind of it's just compounding the problem in a sense.
So let me phrase this question this way, because I think the viewers would, I don't know who your demographic, who your target market is. Are you going for the individuals who are new to cryptos, or are you going for the individuals that understand the importance of anonymity, GDPR, all of that type of stuff? Who's your target market? Because then I can kind of understand where you guys are going and maybe have a different feeling about the project, I guess.
Our focus has really always been on kind of the novice user for the most part.
Okay.
The reality of the market and adoption at this point is, crypto users, people who are familiar with it, have been involved, are really the only ones that are using it at the moment. The retail market jumped in when they thought they could make a buck. It was a speculative play.
Right.
And I don't think that many of them have stuck around to appreciate the possibilities of the technology. So that will come, and it's going to take applications, products, and value to be able to drive users to see that and to actually engage. So, I mean, the whole idea of having a single token, using Pillar to be able to transact and have exposure to any other coin, it solves a lot of problems from a novice standpoint. Like, our next big goal is obviously, and something we've talked about, is creating an ecosystem of services that lives natively within the wallet. So there's plenty of those, services that'll probably have their own native tokens. And you can just use your Pillar to cover that native token purchase exchange cost fee, without actually having to go somewhere, buy it, then spend it. Then you have kind of some dust left over, and you're not sure if you even want that, so it allows you to kind of get in out of those experiences through, again, a single token and kind of experience.
So
That this is
my question about I'm sorry to cut you off there. My
no, no
question
problem.
about the anonymity part of it is the way your wallet is, designed. Is it in a way where, let's say, a company like Chain Analysis wouldn't be able to track what's going on because most of it is off chain? Is that how does that work?
So there's obviously any chain on chain transaction trackable, public. Part of the reason for our introduction of personas is the ability to create new wallet addresses, keys, and associate those with different aspects of your lives. So most people I expect will kind of organize those by coworker, friend, family, or whatnot. Some of us, I'm sure, will have our KYC and our verified credentials associated with one, and then maybe our darknet account over on with another.
Right,
So it
right.
that this is on chain though. And we want to expand this so basically every new connection in the future will be a completely different address, so we can reduce that correlation even further. But for the Pillar payment network, is since it is basically a layer two, an off-chain solution, um, anything other than opening the channel, so the initial stake, and closing, which is settling the initial balance,
Yep.
any transaction that occurs on that layer is essentially private. It's free because there's no gas involved, um, and it's instant because there's no kind of confirmation wait from in terms of miners or whatever it may be. So uh, there's quite a few benefits, and technically, as long as you stay collateralized, these channels can stay open. So you could have a channel open with a buddy for 6 months, a year, and only kind of, it's like a bar tab. It's especially one where maybe you're a local and you go and some days you buy some drinks, maybe they overcharge you, they give you a refund, and then one day you close that whole tab. All those transactions in the middle, credit card processor doesn't see that. They basically just see the final total of what was run.
I got you. I got you. So, how high is the barrier to entry for a newcomer? Do they have to have crypto to create a wallet, a persona? What does that look like? That was
So
another concern of mine. Yeah.
right. What's great is one of the recent fork of Ethereum, Constantinople, or St. Petersburg. Was the inclusion of one of the features was the inclusion of Create Two,
Yeah.
which allows applications dApps to reserve account addresses before they're actually deployed. This is also known as like counterfactual account smart or contract deployment, smart
Mm-hmm.
contract deployment. So in the future, once we roll this functionality out, users will start automatically with a smart wallet. They're able to actually receive tokens as much as they want. They can't send anything until they actually deploy that contract. What we've determined based on like kind of current prices is contract deployment cost is around 30 cents or so. Obviously that'll swing based on network health and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but pretty cheap. We're going to be rolling out a big referral program. So users who refer others will receive some pillars, and then obviously the person getting referred will receive some. We're hoping that kind of initial referral fee will be enough for most people to actually be able to deploy their smart wallet. But assuming they can't even do that, the ability for them to use their key, fund that, start interacting, that's all exists.
Gotcha.
In order to take advantage of kind of this enhanced functionality of the Pillar payment network and stuff, this requires Pillar to be staked, and the amount staked is kind of the value that you have to transact within that network. So that's kind of the benefit, if you will.
So, are you guys like fully committed to Ethereum? Like the way you guys built this wallet, the back end architecture. Let's just say Ethereum never gets to where, and maybe you guys don't need it with the way you're doing the layer two, but are you guys committed to Ethereum? That was, I'm because I'm looking at like the user names and stuff like that you guys have created where people don't have to really know an actual Ethereum address. That type of stuff is available on EOS out of the gate, right? So it's almost like we're recreating the wheel when we don't need to, with many of, not just EOS but other blockchain 3.0 type of architectures. How have you guys designed this infrastructure? Is it scalable? Is it migratable?
So, I mean, we are committed to Ethereum, like,
Gotcha.
as obviously we're working on it.
Right.
The Frankly though, the platform itself is agnostic. If we needed to or chose to move, it would take work, of course, but there's no reason we couldn't necessarily. As we begin to support cross chain, and new chains, I think that's also going to really open up possibilities, and further kind of.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're gonna
So
have to deal with those other chains anyway, so it's gonna allow. I
huge,
got you. Mm-hmm.
and there's huge usability and user experience challenges with that, because UTXO coins, how they're handled, this is totally different. So, making this intuitive, simple, etc. Those challenges will naturally force us to have to think through those architectures and how we integrate and play with those networks.
I almost think, like, I feel like you guys need to go in the direction of either an extension in a browser or a browser, like a pillar browser. Like, I just feel like that may be the evolution in the way that we actually gain newcomers, not through a physical wallet per se, more so like a Brave browser, right? How they've integrated. I almost feel like you guys need to go in that direction. Not just you, just a lot of these wallets. I know you're not just a wallet, but just seeing that you're dealing with privacy, trying to keep people's privacy, theirs, the data lockers, and all of that stuff. Where is that mostly used? That's in a browser, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Like, have you guys tossed that around? I'm sure you have.
100%. I mean, I often use the term platform, because it kind of hints at something larger than, again, a wallet or an application.
Yes.
We've tossed around, operating system.
Yeah.
Inevitably, I think that's kind of what we're trying to build, but I don't want to necessarily use that too much, because it seems overly ambitious, and but the reality is, like, yeah, I think that's kind of what you're talking about is, it's an all-in-one experience, that a portal, if you will, to this decentralized economy and the services and applications that are available. And it's also a payment processor and transaction layer for all those things as well. So there's a lot to it. And I think as, dApp browsers gain in popularity, as other companies start to natively integrate, this poses questions too with Apple and App Store, policies and, digital purchases, and are you getting around that? So there's going to be some friction, and it's actually already starting. I recently read that the App Store rejected a Trust Wallet update for some reason, and they made mention of, I guess, a kind of hinting towards that being the reason. So, yeah, in terms of, we believe like the mobile experience is where most of this is going to live in the future, where things are trending. So that's where we've chosen to focus. I do anticipate, and we have talked about, some sort of a desktop client. And that need is going to make more sense as options for recovery, and connecting other devices to contracts and various things are required or asked for. So
let's talk about that recovery process. Let's go through that. I have a Pillar wallet. I lose it. I have a phone. I have Pillar wallet installed. I lose my phone. What are my options? Are there any options for me? Because I know that Pillar, you hold your private keys with Pillar. Pillar doesn't hold it. It's all with you. How does that work?
So right now, again, key-based, total control, total responsibility. So if you lose your key or your backup phrase to your key and your device, some combination, you're kind of out of luck. Again, a great analogy is that a prepaid debit card. It's loaded full of funds, but it's not really tied to an account. You lose that card, it's lost. Funds are lost.
Mm-hmm.
This is the benefit, one of the main benefits of moving to contract-based funds. So funds are now stored in contract, keys live on device or devices, and separating those two limits vulnerability of total loss, right? So now you can lose a key, you can lose a device, contract's still out there and live as long as you have access. So how to provide access and create redundancy in numerous ways. I would, I'd recommend personally connecting another device and giving it, master key, master signing authority. Mm-hmm. So you might have a secondary phone or your desktop computer, again, mm-hmm. referencing that. It might be a hardware wallet. And so you can kind of always use that one to recover the other. Mm-hmm. Another option we're going to be doing is Pillar is going to offer to act as a centralized recovery agent. I really believe that for new users, that's going to be something very important. And in the sense of, counterfactually deployed contracts, people come in, they're interacting with all these things, they're gaining value. Maybe they got a referral fee or for being invited and creating their wallet on Pillar, and then they lose it. And so I believe that having Pillar is kind of a default for that. There's a lot of benefit. And then at any point, user decides, you know what, I understand this stuff. I don't really like the fact that Pillar has access. I'm gonna let them go and revoke their access. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, as part of the deployment process, you're going to need to have some sort of recovery mechanism before we want you to fund it. So one of the more common ways that we're probably going to push users towards is social recovery, or relying on your networks in the Pillar community on the Pillar platform to help you restore that access. The kind of specific technical implementation of this is called Shamir's secret sharing. It's essentially kind of like multi-sig access. Mm-hmm. You set up the parameters. It can be in any. It's kind of an arbitrary, but it's n of x in the sense of 3 of 5 or 2 of 3, and you basically shard the key and share it with, say, 5 individuals. And as long as you can get access to 3 of them, you're able to recover your key. Mm-hmm. You could share it with 10, and as long as you have 8. So the level of security or those parameters, we haven't specifically decided if we're going to go one way or another, or allow for complete flexibility on the user's side of things to be able to choose those. That's essentially how it would work. Recovery is a tricky one because when people say trustless, there's not really any such thing. You're always trusting someone, whether that be
exactly
a code, a contract, some third-party entity, email verification. So where does that live? And this also is another reason why off-chain and kind of personal decentralized storage is going to be a big deal, not just for Pillar, but for, I think, the future of this decentralized economy and industry. Users having kind of their own decentralized private Dropbox-ish. And those are the type of things that also can help in the recovery process, especially when it comes to identity. Because recovery of identity pieces and recovery of funds and wallet likely to be 2 different paths and handled a bit differently, because again, data correlation, we need to keep those separate essentially.
Gotcha. So lastly, man, what's the future hold for Pillar? 2019, we're almost halfway done with it. What are your goals for the rest of this year and in 2020? What are you guys looking to do, and how are you looking to grow and evolve?
I put out a pretty ambitious vision article in the beginning of the year. If you're interested, please take a look.
Will do.
I've been really pleased with how our team's been performing, our speed of delivery. I'm really happy with the partnerships we've developed with other projects. We're collaborating with numerous open source teams. And all of this is really, again, our product velocity is picked up. And generally, I'm starting to see a lot of the high level concepts that we talked about in our gray paper, and we drove people to be interested in the project. really coming to light. Like those technology foundations are being laid. On the back of the Pillar Payment Network, we have a variety of initiatives we're working on, and we recently also participated in the Odyssey Hackathon out in Amsterdam, which where we focused on citizen wallet and digital citizenship and the identity play. That is really going to start to become a lot more prevalent theme, less kind of wallet features and more, identity specific features. And that's not to say we don't have a strong focus on DeFi and what's happening there. We definitely anticipate inclusion of those services, but we want to make sure we stay true to that core goal of making sure that people have control over their data and their personal information, and they're able to interact with their everyday services and in a manner of their choosing. So.
Gotcha. So, lastly, the other part with, as far as my interview with the chairman, David Siegel, one of the concerns was the token, right? I was holding this token, as I've explained in many videos, probably for reasons I don't know, just because Cliff High, told us that this was going to go to the moon, right? What role does the token play now in this whole ecosystem, and how are you guys going to add or continue to add value to that token? I mean, I know it's not a security, so it's not like, I'm just saying, how are you going to have that demand for the Pillar token increase over time?
Totally. Yeah. Some of the tokenomics theory.
The tokenomics, exactly.
Yeah. So this is all part and parcel of kind of the Pillar Payment Network and everything involved in that. The token, again, so the whole concept is around this idea of a meta token, and Pillar acting as this meta token. So we've already touched on how by staking, you're able to enter onto this layer 2 payment channel and the benefits there. You're able to exchange assets that you don't directly own and have exposure basically to any of those assets, all through Pillar. Because of our relayer network that we're working with and helping to build, you're able to cover network fees on chain directly from Pillar. So kind of like having a single token experience. So novices or individuals who just don't really want to have to worry about all the other, they can basically operate and interact with all the wallet services purely through Pillar. This is kind of the theme. You can imagine too, if there's a number of integrated services, a robust ecosystem, despite whatever currency they want to charge in, even if it may be fiat, you can interact and you have exposure to this through Pillar. So it's kind of like maintaining a balance in your Pillar tank and exposure onto the network. You're able to interact with all these people purely through Pillar. So we anticipate, the staking there will naturally have a effect on the supply, and pull a lot of the tokens to the live on platform, hopefully some level of permanence, and that starts to feed the network.
Gotcha.
The number of ways and the utility beyond that, obviously, as a payment layer for services, as a Web3 payment processor for Web2 companies that are looking to make this migration but don't want to have to worry about the infrastructure. That's a big focus for us as well. So right. We can use Pillar Wallet platform and token to kind of be that whole story and handle that whole infrastructure challenge for them. So these are some of the ways we anticipate that the use will increase, utility will increase, and as a result, hopefully the number of holders and transactions will increase.
Gotcha. So are you guys going to be, again, I didn't know you were in the States. Are you going over to NY for Blockchain Week next week?
Will you be out there? I'm heading out mid next week. Vitor, our CTO, will be there. Michael, our new CEO, will also be there. Some of the 2030 team as well. So if you're interested, please reach out. the articles that I recently released, it's a 3-part article series. First one dealing with kind of the smart wallet and PDL. Second one on this pillar payment network channel or topic, and relayers.
Yep.
And the third one is really like has yet to come out. It's really the meta token concepts, kind of bring it all together, and that'll hopefully answer more to the tokenomics piece.
Gotcha.
But on those, there's a sign up form too. So if users are going to be out in New York, we're going to be doing some private demos, so they can sign up there as well. And we're happy to meet with them, tell you where we'll be, and show you what we're working on.
Great. Yeah, you guys, if you're in the New York area or going to New York Blockchain Week, definitely check out Drew and company. That's great, man. So I wish you guys the best, and definitely have you come back on and give me updates, man. You guys are taking on a lot. I'm just being honest, and it's a kudos to you for pivoting and really hankering down on a team where it looks like you guys are making a lot of progress finally. And that's great, man. Again, guys, thank you for joining me on this Kicking It session with Drew Hardin from Pillar. He is the Chief Product Officer. You can contact him there on the screen, Twitter @Drew Hardin. Definitely have you on again, brother. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.